Welcome to the Customer Wins Podcast, where business leaders discuss their secrets and techniques for helping their customers succeed and in turn grow their business.
Hi, I'm Rich Walker, the host of the Customer Wins, where I talk to business leaders about how they help their customers win and how their focus on customer experience leads to growth. Some of my past guests have included Shannon Rosick of Informa, Brandon Castaneda of Easy Bombs, and Tracy Lee of This Dot Labs. This is a special episode in my Perspective series where I talk with leaders outside of financial services who bring different views and experiences to the show. Today, I'm speaking with Ty Peck of Business Draft. And today's episode is brought to you by Quick, the leader in enterprise forms processing. When your business relies upon processing forms, don't waste your team's valuable time manually reviewing the forms. Instead, get Quick. Using Quick APIs to generate completed forms and get back clean, context-rich data that reduces manual reviews to only 1 out of 1,000 submissions. Visit quickforms.com to get started. Before I introduce today's guest properly, I want to give a big thank you to a prior guest on the show, Matt Goebel of Woven. Go check out his website at startwoven.com, especially if you're in the franchise business. All right. Ty Peck is the CEO and co-founder of Business Draft, a hiring platform shaking up how franchises and multi-location businesses find talent. He's built Business Draft and Indeed Platinum Partner into one of the fastest growing hiring platforms by keeping tech Apple simple while layering in AI to kill the busy work. Things like scheduling, tracking, and candidate matching so leaders can focus on people, not busy work. Under his leadership, Business Draft has helped brands like Planet Fitness and Crumble. They cut their no-shows, speed up hiring, and actually make hiring and recruiting enjoyable again. Off the clock, Ty's a husband, dad of 4, firm believer that the future doesn't just happen, you build it. Man, those are words to my ears right there. Ty, welcome to the Customer Wins.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, Rich. Thanks for having me. And thanks, Matt, for introducing us.
Well, he understood. Like-minded people love talking to each other. So
that's a fact. Yeah.
So for those who haven't heard my podcast before, I love to talk with business leaders about what they're doing to help their customers win, how they built and deliver a great customer experience, and the challenges to growing their own company. And Ty, you were introduced to me as somebody who truly cares about this. So I want to understand your business better. How does your company help people?
Yeah, our company really focuses on, two aspects of people, right? We focus on the candidates, those who are applying. In today's world, it's a pretty rough world today with unemployment rates. They're at like 4.3% and climbing. And we really help candidates with a transparent application and tracking process. Then we also help companies not only hire faster, but we help them find the right people, to help, retainment of their actual employees. So really, it's all about that whole process because hiring sucks, finding a job sucks, and how do we just make it suck a little less? So that's our goal.
Yeah, I have a lot of alignment with that because I am passionate about career development. And in the 90s and all the 2000s and beyond, I was helping people find better jobs and negotiate better salaries. And then I eventually wrote a book in 2012 about this, which, by the way, I give away for free because I just want to help. So I'm super passionate about this. And it is a hard thing to do. And a lot of my peers are struggling with it. So when you say you make this less sucky, what are some of these aspects that you saw as a customer experience challenge that you wanted to get out of the challenge phase and into ease?
Yeah, I think we could talk about a little bit of both of those, right? Because I think this really stems from a candidate initially. So when we built Business Draft, we really built this from a foundation of a candidate experience first. We're like, how do we make the candidate experience amazing? And if you look there's hundreds of applicant tracking platforms out there, but a lot of them, I don't know actually another one that doesn't focus on the candidate experience like us. I mean, we're very candidate centric. And so we went and interviewed thousands of candidates and we were like asking them questions around, what does their pain points of applying for roles, what are the things that they love? What are the things that they hate about that journey? And it was shockingly almost 100% of them were saying zero transparency. We don't know where we're at in the process, and we never hear back from people. And
Oh my gosh.
so, yeah, I mean, look, you and I, we've all been there, right? We've all applied for roles before, at some point in our life, and it's like it's the apply and pray that you maybe hear something back from somebody. So, we really wanted to change that and just create a transparent process for the applicant, as well as for the company too. But we did start that with the applicant first. So,
You know what's interesting about that? Because I haven't applied for a job in a very long time. My company is 23 plus years old, so very long time.
right.
But when in sales and I'm working with a potential prospect customer, I feel like the same thing. Like they don't return calls or messages. They don't say what they're doing or not doing. And
Mhm.
I've heard this from the jobs experience too. Plenty of candidates have said, I applied, I just don't know. So can we
Right.
apply this around the world across all the problems of transparency?
It's so funny. I actually, uh, I actually think the biggest problem in our world is actually just communication. Period. Right? It's like as humans, we're just terrible communicators. We think we're great communicators, but in reality, we're terrible. And it's just a matter of just communication and better communication. And so that's really what we sought out to do is just like how do we know that the company is not going to likely want to message every person back. So how do we build a platform that automates that process, right? And so
Yeah.
that's kind of what we've done. Yeah.
Well, so let's put that in context. I run a company that's based on software in financial services, automating forms. And when
Mhm.
I see a resume come across who wants to be the foreman on a construction job, why should I give that person any kind of response? They obviously don't fit in my company. They didn't read the ad. They're just bulk applying. Why should I waste my time on them?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a really valid point and honestly, that's one of the problems. We're platinum partners with Indeed. We love Indeed. Indeed's absolutely amazing. They make app applying though almost too easy to apply, right? Because they have the Indeed Easy Apply where people just go through, and that's the other problem of it, right? From the company perspective, is you look at it through their lens and they're like, man, I have all these applicants that are unqualified. And what
Yeah.
happens is people go through and they just click apply, 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 apply to 10, 15, 20 jobs. And some of it is because they're wanting to keep some form of a unemployment benefit or something like that. And they're just applying to apply, right? We get those
Oh,
people.
never thought about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big problem, right? They're the ones who no show for interviews. They're the ones who don't communicate back, and that's the company problem, right? That's like, that's the frustration and on the company side. So, like, yeah, how do you solve some of those pain points and problems? And to your point, yeah, you have Bob who worked construction and he has no idea about tech and has no experience in there. Yeah, why should you um, give him a shot? And it's one of those things of like, I don't know that you should, right? I mean, I think sometimes people have to start somewhere, but you know, uh, getting involved in to coding or something of that form. I mean, there's obviously a pretty fine line with that.
Yeah. I mean, especially when their aspirational goal has nothing to do with my company, industry, product, or service. And it's super obvious. But, let's go back to your product. You are automating some of this. So I presume that you're making it easy for my team, if I'm reading in that resume and seeing it's not a fit, to say not a fit somehow, dismiss, delete, whatever it is, but then communicate that transparency back to the candidate. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, yeah. It's a little bit more actually complex than that because what we've also found is that resumes and look, the older crowd isn't going to like this. They love the resume, but we're trying to actually migrate away from the resume. Like, why do we like resumes? It's just the data on the resume that's important. So we're trying to get people to not look, or people, we're trying to get the companies not to look at the resumes as much as it is just the data on the resume. So we're actually auto completing using AI actually to complete the resume into an actual profile and actually
Mm.
standardizing that approach to create, again, a standardized profile that's easy to understand and quick to review. And so that way we're putting all of the candidates' information in the exact same spot on a profile. So it makes reviewing a lot more, quick and efficient. We don't use AI to actually make decisions for you, but what we do is we help speed up again that review process. We also use AI to uh, take the data around the job posting and then the data around the candidate, and we kind of match that together and create a matching score and understand how well they match with this posting. And then we break it down into 10 different categories and then show you where you guys match at and where you don't match at. So helps make the decision process a little easier. We also have like things like screening questions that allow you to automatically disqualify a candidate if they for some reason don't match within those parameters of those screening questions. So,
Yeah, awesome.
yeah.
So let's go back to another problem that I've heard from candidates. And my wife, she's been employed many times, so I've heard this directly with her. So a part of the problem I see, you build your resume, you build this profile you have, but then you go to somebody's application system and they say essentially copy paste, rebuild the whole thing over again in their desired format. I see that as a huge impediment. And really, the loss of identity, the loss of character, the loss of personality that has been coming across in cover letters and resumes. How do you see that and work with it?
Yeah. Are you talking about like you have your resume, you upload it, and then you have to type in like forms, basically retype in all your information? Is that kind of what it is?
Yeah, there's lots of application sites, whether it's a big hospital group or some other corporate entity, et cetera. My wife's in medical, and
Okay.
they don't even want your resume. They just want you to type all the data into their format so it's easy for them to read. It's a pain in the
Right.
butt for the applicant.
Yeah.
And now you're just being put in a box and they can't see who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's a major problem. If you actually look at, there's a joke like memes that go around companies like that. I won't name drop any of them, but uh, this industry knows of one that is just notorious for that. It says, you know, give me your resume and then now type in and spend 20 minutes typing in all the information that's now on your resume, right? And so, no, to your point, it's a pain point for the candidate. You're going to get a high drop off rate. The way I look at that whole candidate experience is how do you make it as easy as possible for the candidate, right? And so, you want to make sure that again people spend quality time on their resume, right? So I don't know that we're not looking to go away from it. We're just looking to standardize it into a standardized format, right?
Yeah.
So, what we do personally is we actually take their resume and then they can actually just click one button and our platform reads their resume utilizing AI and then just transcribes that data into the form completion. And so it makes the process, it happens right in front of your eyes. It's really cool. Again, transparent. They can see it happening and like, wow, this is cool. I don't have to type in any of the application process. We just take care of it for you. So there's like utilizing technology is just so great because again, we're in 2025. And if you're not utilizing, any form of AI to help simplify processes and procedures, I think that you're behind. So
I think that's well said. Processes and procedures, things that are automatable.
mhm.
Um, I want to point to something else that happens in the candidate process. Let's say somebody comes in who is on paper less qualified, but in person, the perfect fit. Like you would
Yeah.
love to have this person culturally in your company. You love their intellect, their attitude, and you feel like you could grow their skills. They've got maybe a baseline.
Mhm.
I feel like we're losing the opportunity to see those types of candidates because of the automation. So how do you address that type of problem?
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is just, I think you have a couple different types of skill levels to look at, right? And so, one, I think some of the best employees I've ever hired had the worst resumes that you would look at it and you'd be like, there's no way this person could do this job, but you interview them anyways, right? And so, yeah, to your point, that's why we don't utilize AI to make decisions, just because it still takes a human touch to be able to look at that a little bit further, right? If you're just looking at metrics and lining things up, it's not the best. But I think you have the ability to maybe look into it a little bit further and look into people. So, we do ask other questions, and we encourage companies to ask better screening questions to help understand people a little bit better rather than just sticking to, like, for example, skills, like personality skills. Like, there's so many things, and that's kind of what we're really getting into in the next chapter is like, how do we understand, people's personality a little bit more? How do we understand, like, again, their work ethic? Or so we have something on our platform called a trust score. And so um, what it is today isn't what it's going to be long term, but the different types of data that we are able to capture on our platform is, do they show up for interviews? Are they late for interviews? And vice versa from a company perspective, because there are a lot of companies who, by the way, don't show up for the candidates either, right? They no show the interviews and things. So it's kind of a basis on both sides, and just understanding, data around people. And so, like, I was always fascinated by Uber and their scores on people riding in Ubers, right? And so, like, I ride in an Uber and I get a score. I always tip. I am on my phone a lot because I'm working, but for some reason, I don't have a 5.0 score. I have like a
You
4 point.
personally,
Yeah, I have
like
like a
as a
4
passenger.
as a passenger. I have a 4 point, like, 8, 9. And I'm like, how do I not have I tip, I'm a very good tipper. And but it must be because I'm on my phone talking, and they must hate it. So I don't have a 5.0 score, but I don't understand, and so, like, to that same point of, like, how do we do something like that, but do it a little bit better, right? How do we keep metrics and scores of people for maybe their accountability as a personal level? Like, if you no show for interviews, how do we adjust a trust score based on those kind of parameters? So I think there's a lot of cool data that you can kind of capture and kind of learn from to create a really unique experience. But
Are you guys incorporating other types of scores that are popular? DISC, 34 strong, enneagrams, etc.
It's interesting. DISC is an interesting one. I went to uh, pretty well connected in the HR world, and I went to somebody from uh, HR, head of HR at Safeco, and was talking to them about discs. And do we do it? Do we not do it? Like, I don't know. I've kind of always been a fan of data, and they said something really interesting to me around those type of scores, and they said that they went away from them like a while ago. And the reason why is because it's only based on, for one, it's not 100% accurate, and two, it's only based on your day to day. So say you had a stressful morning, and you're having a hard time, and you take those tests, it's going to come out different than maybe, say, a day when you're positive, or when you had some good things happen in your life. And so they chose to kind of go away from them, and it kind of made sense. I'm like, look at these candidates. Like, the average unemployment time right now is 27 weeks that a person is unemployed
Is
for.
it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's a long time, right? And so, I mean, that's over half a year. And
Yeah.
so they're stressed out. They've got probably back on bills. And so, yeah, they're probably not going to take these tests and probably do very well on them from a personality perspective. So I don't know. I'm sure there's some other ones out there, but I love data, and I'd love to be able to give people better data for decisions. I think is obviously best goal. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, your customers can always still put the tests out there. They don't have to use your system to do it if it's their choice.
totally.
Right.
Yeah. 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 If you
Yeah.
want to go do a disc, you can go run that separately or something. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Ty, what part of what I think is interesting about this story that you have is there's really a couple of facets to it in my world. One is I think you're helping illuminate the hiring process. But two, you approached this problem from a very different perspective than your competitors. You said, let's focus on the candidate. Is the candidate paying you? They're not, right? It's
No, the candidate doesn't pay us at all. I think this is kind of our gift to the candidate of, like, hey, we get you. And there's, yeah, there's no monetary side on the candidate for us. It's just something we do for them.
Yeah. What I love about this is that you're saying, let's focus on building a better experience for the end consumer of our product. One of
Mhm.
the end consumers of the product, right? You have internal hiring teams that are looking at your product too, and try to make this a really excellent experience from their perspective, which kind of turns it on its head. How
Mhm.
have your customers reacted to that? And do they feel like that's to their benefit? Are they seeing the difference?
Yeah, great question because I always look at candidates applying as kind of the same if you were to put an ad on Google, right? A paid SEM ad, right? And it's just a matter of like how well does the couple factors on it, like the text on it, the copyright, like how well is it written, is it written to the right person, like some of those things matter, but it's also like, again, how easy can you make it for the candidate, and the easier you can make it, the better it's going to be for the end user, right, for the company. And so yeah, we've seen some great success. We've had a couple candidate or a couple companies come to us and they're like, we don't like this transparency thing. We don't like them to know that we've reviewed their application. We don't like you to notify them that they've been disqualified from the role. And honestly, like I don't care. I mean, they can go find another platform if you're not happy with that. Like to be blunt, because um, you know, it's really one of those factors of how do we like how do we make it as easy of a process for the company, but how do we make it as transparent of a process for the candidate? So like again, we're
What
super
is
candidate focused. So
what is that sense in that company that they don't want them to know they've been disqualified and dismissed from their process? What is that behavior being driven by? Is it control, fear? And I don't mean to be judgmental. I just
no,
want to understand.
yeah, yeah. I really don't know. When we press things like that, on a few people, they really are just like, I just don't really want them. I just really don't want to notify them of that, And I think, it could it be like it's a tough thing, right? Like telling someone no. But also at the same point, I would rather know, right? I don't know anyone out there on the surveys that we
Yeah.
did with thousands of candidates. Every candidate was like, I just want to know where I'm at, right? So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Expectations are such an important part of communication. And
yeah,
when you don't have expectations met, that's when you're uncomfortable, frustrated, angry. When you have them met or exceeded, you're happy.
yeah,
And just having them met means you're ready to go on. I mean, yeah, if I'm applying to a firm and I'm excited about it and I don't know and I'm strung along for 3 weeks, why? I'd rather just know.
yeah.
No, I think that's a challenging thing to create that kind of transparency. And so, I'm actually kind of asking myself, how can the rest of us apply this concept of focusing on the non-customer user to make our products and services better? And
Yeah.
and it's a hypothetical question. Like, should a financial advisor who's serving, um, an older couple focus on the kids because they're going to inherit it? Should they focus on that experience? I don't. That's kind of facetious, but
Yeah.
where does this lead us to? And I bring this up for my own company because we are going through a pricing model shift, which is a huge
Mm.
deal. Like it's risky to do it. But the primary reason I want to do it is I want to give our end user, the actual recipient of forms and signature, a better
Mm.
experience, which
Yeah.
is what our customers want to do too. So it's in alignment, but I have to change my pricing model to really like drive that behavior.
Right. I think that's fascinating, actually, and thanks for thinking about that, because I think everyone needs to think about, how do you create a better experience for all users, not just the ones who are paying you the money, right? And I think that
Yeah.
that's an important factor to always think about. It's interesting. Maybe this helps kind of think about on how you guys might potentially do it with Quick is, we actually give the candidates a similar experience that the companies get, but for free. We actually give them what's called a candidate tracking system, and so they're actually able to log into their own account and actually see in a Kanban style form exactly where they're at in the process and how many steps are left for them in that application process. They can message the hiring team there. They can withdraw their application. They can do things like that. And maybe that's something similar that you create with Quick is, kind of that other, experience that's similar, but, more stripped down features. So
Yeah, we've thought a lot about that in terms of how do we expose to the various users what stage their paperwork is in, and can we know
yeah.
that here at Quick? Because sometimes we can't. We can know it's off for signature, but after that, we don't know what's going on. Thankfully, we have partners who do this really, really well. But yeah, it's a very challenging thing to put all the different customer or constituents into the picture here. So when you think about this experience for your actual paying user, how are you driving your product roadmap? How are you figuring out what they need in concert with your end consumer?
Yeah, I have a philosophy in business, and it's if somebody has a good idea, aka the end user, the customer, build it. As long as it's not a selfish request, like we will build it. We will create tickets for it, and we will prioritize those tickets accordingly. But we build every feature that comes to us from customers, and we roadmap those. And I think because honestly, most of them are really good ideas. Like we love hearing feedback from our customers of like, hey guys, what if you could do this? And we're like, gosh, that's amazing. Like, why didn't we think of that? Like there was a feature one of our customers came to us with, and they said, well, what happens if they pass these knockout questions in the screening process? What if we just want to interview them? Like, we don't want to review them. We just want to interview them. And I was like, that's such a good idea. Like, and I go to like my product team, like, how did we not think of this? This is phenomenal. And so like we build that feature into our product, and we had it launched within, I think, 7 business days of actual, yeah.
Wow.
Like we fast tracked that because it was such a good idea, So yeah, we love those sort of the feedback, and we just have to keep to our core value though of always ensuring that it's a transparent process just throughout. And so like that's just our baseline. Like we're not willing to move on that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Look, I'm going to start part of this conversation that we may not have time for, but
yeah.
it's what I'm passionate about with career development. And that is, I always tell people, if you're looking for a job, you need to think about how an employer hires you and why. And what are the 3 reasons an employer is going to hire you? And so I always say, number 1, cultural fit. They want to feel like you belong there, like you're part of that family or that ethos, that system, even if it's negative or difficult or versus positive and happy-go-lucky, whatever. There's different cultures for everybody. 2, they have to have, let's see. I'm always getting this screwed up here. You have to be able to, you have to fit the skill level. So you have to be able to demonstrate the skills. And so I stop there and I say, imagine if you're an employer and a candidate walks in, they're the perfect cultural fit, and they have the demonstrated ability to do the job. Now tell me why you would not hire them.
Mm-hmm.
And that leaves the last third part, a need for the role. If I have a VP of sales and somebody wants to be my VP of sales, do you think I'm going to fire my VP of sales to let you in? No, I'm going to actually say, you're a perfect fit. You have incredible skills. Can we have you do something different? Because honestly, I don't know your experience. My experience interviewing thousands of people, do you know how often I see that perfect cultural fit with the demonstrated ability to do the job? Less than 1% of the time. It's so rare.
Right.
When you find that person, you're like, yes, I want that. But I feel like with all this AI and automation and standardization of how the process works, people don't get to demonstrate those 2 things as well.
Takes out the human touch out of it, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
It sure does. And we're a big fan of video. How like we actually ask candidates questions, and we encourage them to answer those questions about themselves on video, and they can actually build that into their profile that companies can then review. So it allows you to stand out more than just words on paper. So I think that those are some things that we could do to try to help stand out a little bit more, help your personality shine. Because to your point, we've all been there, right? Where we talk to somebody and we know within the first 5 minutes talking to them, we're like, man, this person is really great. I think
Mhm.
like I think they're the right person. So yeah.
So let me flip it. Maybe I'm going to give you an idea for your platform, which I don't know that much about. So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
you've
You're
already
good.
done this, but let me flip it, because what I then say to the candidate is, if you want to be the best cultural fit for a company, you need to know what companies you're a fit for. You need to go explore and find out their company culture and find the one where you're going to naturally thrive and belong and excel. And so I used to do coaching on the side for this. And I had a guy who was more than top secret clearance in the government come out and says, he's in software. He's like, I don't want to work for government anymore. We narrowed it down to the things he had to work for. He wanted a company in aerospace or automotive, and a charismatic leader doing innovative things. Well, that left it was Tesla, SpaceX, Virgin Galactic, right? So now he could hone his focus on just those three companies to go find the job at, which is what he did.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering, does your platform really enable the employers to say who they are, to help the candidates really see, are you a good cultural fit or not? Are you exposing that?
Yeah, we do. I love that thought, by the way. And we do, could we do better at it? Always, right? And so these are that just feeds my mind, which I absolutely love, by the way. So thank you for that. But we do ask a lot of data around the companies when they create their own account and profiles. We actually use it because we help it help feeds our AI as well, you know, when writing job
Mhm.
descriptions and stuff, utilizing our platform. But we also give the candidate a matching score on their side. And we actually align up those categories too under 10 different categories and say, hey, here's how you're a fit and here's where you're not a fit at. Are you an 80% match? Are you 100% match? And then we also ask the candidate questions like, you know, compensation's a big one though too, right? Like,
Mhm.
how many times do we interview somebody and then we get into maybe the second interview sometimes? We're like, gosh, I don't even know if I could afford this person or not, you know? And so,
Oh yeah, right.
um,
Been there.
right? Yeah. And so we just try to align that initially. And so we ask candidates, how much money are you looking to make? Like, give us, give us a range. And so we don't share with the company the exact dollar amount, but we share with it the dollar if it's actually a match on that. So that's actually one additional category that we match on. But we try to match on some of those cultural parts. You know, we ask like mission statements. We ask like, what are your core values? You know, and then we ask candidates what's important to them. So could we be better at that? Absolutely. And now that after this conversation, I'm gonna go book a call with my product team, and we're gonna actually gonna talk about road mapping some other future stuff for candidates around, you know, better matching on their side. So I love that.
Yeah, I would love to see companies expose their personality, maybe some of their unwritten rules that run their company inside that you
Mm.
can't see from the outside. I don't know if Muse.com is still around, but they would do profiles on companies, and that was a great way to
Oh,
see it from the inside out. And I always encourage people to go read articles, but here's other things I encourage them to do: call their 800 number, act like a customer, see how they treat you. Call the
yeah.
HR department, say, can I have an informational interview and just see who you are and learn about you and hear about it? So I'm wondering if like you guys could provide videos for the employer to put out there about themselves, because that would
Yeah,
be also
we
awesome.
do. Yeah, we do. We encourage it. I think we have probably less than 2% of the companies who actually do videos like, and we don't want like your generic video, right? Like of
Yeah.
like, hey, this is what it's like working for a company and it's scripted. We just want like questions and answers, like, you know. So we encourage it, we ask for it, but people just don't like to be on video these days, and that's part of it, you know. So
I know that is part of it, man. Ty, I really, really enjoyed talking to you about all this, and I have to wrap this up, unfortunately.
yeah,
Before I
you're
get to
good.
my last question, what's the best way for people to find and connect with you?
Yeah, the best way is, you know, LinkedIn. Look, LinkedIn's always the best way, Ty Peck. Or you could also visit our website, and it's just businessdraft.com. So that's another good way to at least explore more about our product too. So,
Awesome. All right, here's my last question. Who has had the biggest impact on your leadership style and how you approach your role today?
Yeah, that's a great one. I don't know if it's cliche to say, but I don't know if it's my dad, right? It really is he has been just a leader. He was a law enforcement police chief, and he was the type of guy who it's just you go get it done. And so, in my bio, right, it's like we don't wait for things to get done, we just get them done, right? And so that's kind of my leadership style is we don't make excuses, we just find a way to get it done. So, and that resonates with some people and some people don't like it, and that's okay too, but at the end of the day, we're just here to move the world forward. So, yeah, it's definitely my dad. He's just been a good example of leadership in my life. So,
I love that. I love
yeah.
that. Man, yeah, we all need that example for us, because I agree. Why wait for others? Go do it. What's stopping you?
Procrastination is one of the biggest things in my life, that you learn about. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I want to give a huge thank you to Ty Peck, CEO and co-founder of Business Draft, for being on this episode of The Customer Wins. Go check out Ty's website at businessdraft.com. And don't forget to check out Quick at quickforms.com, where we make processing forms easier. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion. We'll click the like button, share this with someone, and subscribe to our channels for future episodes of The Customer Wins. Ty, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rich. Appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to the Customer Wins podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.